Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. It's been a good week. Um let's start with I got a whole lot to say. I'm just going to start out like that. I have a whole lot to say. We have a whole lot to go through. It's not going to be long. I'm going to get through it very quickly. Um in fact, yeah, I got to leave, so I definitely got to get what I need to say and get it out the way. But first things first, go hit the bell, subscribe, like, follow me, all of that. Check out the description below, and you know if there's anything that you are interested in, yeah, just check out the description below. I have some good things for you. All right, let's get into it. All right, everybody, so it's been a good week or two. um a lot of things been happening in the news. We did talk about the massacres that have been happening, the mass shootings, and all that crazy nonsense. And so much stuff has been happening, even in between that time. There's been a lot of stuff that's been happening on. I've been seeing a lot of news on Twitter and on Instagram, and I'm gonna get to the Amber Mims and Johnny Depp's situation, and I'm gonna get to the Erykah Badu, and also there's Young Thug and Gunna. But first, there's a local rapper, and I thought this was interesting because this kind of applied. It really hit me hard when I saw this news report that came out on Instagram. I just saw it. Somebody posted up, and it was a rapper. And I'm from Washington D.C., and this rapper is actually from Baltimore, which isn't too far away. It's 45 minutes away from DC. So, you know, DC, Baltimore have a love-hate relationship. Um, if you're from the area, you know the thing. You have the DMV, and then you have Baltimore. But I'm not going to get into all that. But okay, Baltimore. I'm gonna read this. Baltimore City Police has to pay Young has to pay a rapper named Young Moose 300,000 K for planting drugs on him. And that's crazy. And if you're a black man, you are familiar with this. If you lived in the inner cities your whole life, you are familiar with that story where police planting drugs in your vehicle, in your car. Uh, and I know people who this has happened to, and it's also happened to myself. So this is an interesting story. So, well, I'm gonna read some more. Okay, so this is from No Jumper. No Jumper is the one that broke this story. So Baltimore rapper Young Moose reached a $300,000 settlement with the city to resolve a lawsuit against the officers that planted drugs on him. He spent 2 years in jail. Wow. Okay. Which he says hurt his career. Obviously, it did. And I'm glad that the city is paying him $300,000. They're paying him, because this happens to a lot of men. A lot of people don't know this, especially young black men. This happens to a lot of men. And I had a situation like this. And in fact, the situation happened in 2012. And why it resonated with me is because in 2012, I too had a situation where an officer in DC had planted drugs into my car during a traffic stop. So that really hit me hard. Uh, I was I was actually picking up my sister from work in her car. I didn't use my car. I used her car, and on my way to pick her up from her job in her car, a police officer flagged me down and pulled me over. And first it started out with a tail light, And I had I'm a very respectful person. So we had a little small talk with the police, and it was a very good conversation. Very He seemed very pleasant, but at the same time, have you ever been in a situation where you're in a good conversation with somebody, but you can tell that they're trying to find a way to run some game on you? And that's kind of how the feel was with this situation. I could tell that he was looking for an angle. He was looking for something. He was looking for an angle. So, uh, good conversation, and all of a sudden, he pops a question, says, "Hey, do you have drugs in your car?" And I'm like, "No, I don't have drugs in my car." And he starts to say, "Hey, I want to search your car." I'm just like, "No, you can't search the car." And then comes another police officer that was with him, comes from the other side of the car and opens the back door. And that's when he plants the drugs in my car. And then all of a sudden, this second officer, uh all of a sudden, he discovered that there's weed in my car, or there's a substance in my car. That at the time it was just a substance. And he said, and the words they said to me, if this is weed, then at the time weed wasn't, of course, legalized in DC yet. So remember, this is 2012. So he said, if this is drugs, then you will go to jail tonight. And I remember that. And then after a while, they ended up handcuffing me. And I'm out the car by this point. This is the long story short. I'm handcuffed, and then some other police officers who arrive. It becomes a big scene. So there's other police officers that arrive, and then they test the drugs. These new officers that they don't know me from Adam. Uh, they test the drugs, and it becomes and it's and when the results come back, it's the most potent weed that I've ever seen in my life. Is extremely potent. I'm just like, come on now. And then at the end of the day, they gave me a slap on the wrist and said, we're just going to give you a warning. And I'm just like, okay, so now it's a warning. And they gave me a warning for a tail light. And that's how they tried to get out of the situation. But that's why that story with Young Moose, the rapper, resonated with me. And I'm glad he got paid for his inconvenience. Not just inconvenience. It's just something that happens to a lot of young black men. And yes, there's racism that's attached to that, the stigmatism and all of that. And it is really disheartening. It's really sick. And I really think that cities need to cough up that money whenever these situations come out, that these guys are innocent. They really need to pay. I would say, I really believe that if if the cities were sued in the amount of, at least, if you can sue up to, if you can just get the most out of it, 300K is a lot of money. Not really, but for the city, I would say, man, he need to get at least in the tens of millions, or when you start hitting those millions, the city will say, "Hey, we got to shape up." We can't be doing that once you start hitting those millions. All right, so the next story. Next story. I'm gonna get off of that because that can be a whole thing right there. So the next story, which is similar. All right, I'm gonna go into the next story because it's very similar. And it's not similar. The situation isn't similar, but it deals with rappers. Okay, so I'm gonna stick with that for right now. All right. So this is on Young Thug and Gunner. And the they've been in court. We all know they've been in court, and they've been denied bail. So I'll read this to you. Okay. I'll read this to you. Is it fair that prosecutors use lyrics from Young Thug's and Gunna's song "Take It to Trial"? That's the name of the song. "Take It to Trial." Ironic, right? uh as basis basis to deny bail. So they're using the song "Take It to Trial" as a way to deny them bail. Um, and that's something that not we, but rappers need to think about. They need to think about what they're saying in these records, because it looks like these songs will be used against you in the court of law. That's what's happening now. Um, so the lyrics in Young Thug and Gunna's song "Take It to Trial" were used in court to plead the case for prosecutors to have bail denied for the two rappers. We want to know what you think is fair. Are their lyrics a reflection of real life, and should they be used against rappers in court? Okay, so the idea is we have freedom of speech. Everybody has the right to say whatever they want to say. No complaints there. No complaints. Everybody should have the right to say anything they want to say. But does that mean that there's no consequences behind that? That's another question right there. Does that mean just because you can say whatever you want to say, it's a free country to say whatever you want to say? But for every action, for everything you say, there's a consequence behind that. And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that if you want to jump out there, you can, but you got to be prepared to take what comes after that. You got to be prepared to handle the consequences that come after that. So you can't so you could say is you can be crazy and wild out and be crazy and say whatever you want to say, but when it's time to pay, you gotta be able to pay. Hey, what's up, Donette? Donette Hill. Happy June. Happy June. Love to see you. But yeah, when it's time to pay the piper, when it's time for you to pay for what you've said, you gotta be willing to take it. You can't dish it out and can't take it. Um, I think it's unfortunate on one sense that these guys are being used like this, and I also think that yes, there is a system that's against black men and that's against rappers and all that stuff. But if there's a system against you, then you have to be smart enough to know how to use you have to be smart enough not to do anything that's going to jeopardize you. You have to play this game smart. You got to play chess. You can't play checkers, in this thing, you can't just be like, oh well, that's racist and this and that. The other, while it might be true that it is racism being played at hand, you can't just be stupid. Don't put yourself in harm's way when you don't have to. Play the game because they're playing the game. These lawyers are playing the game. These prosecutors are playing the game, and they're running it on you. So you can't just jump out here and say you can jump out here and say what you want to, but just know that there's consequences behind that, and you got to use what you have. You got to you got to have use the leverage that you have. You got to be able to use the leverage, and when you don't have leverage, you can't just think you can jump out there and say anything. All right. So the next story that we're going to talk about, and I'm almost through. I got two more, and this is Erica Badu. Erica Badu. And I hated to see this because Erica Badu is one of those ladies you know, she's a very beautiful woman. Growing up as a kid, you see Erica Badu and she was that thing that you wanted to holler at. Erica Badu was a beautiful woman, is a beautiful woman, you know. But in this news report that was on, I think this was on Twitter, um somebody had it was just real disheartening to see this. All right, so this is about her relationship with Jay Electronica. Um, and he recalled a time when she stabbed him in the ribs during their relationship. And yeah, AKA the artist. Yeah. So she's recalling a time he's recalling Jay Electronica is recalling a time where Erica stabbed him in the ribs. And then if I'm gonna read this. All right. So here's Jay Electronica, and he at Erica Badu. This time, this is the same time. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so let me show you. There's a picture right here, and you might not can see it, right? It's a picture of the both of them. Let me see if I can bring it up close. Okay, there we go. There's a picture of the both of them. All right, right there. And he says at Erica Badu, this is the same day that she cut me in my ribs with a butcher knife, and I had to get 16 stitches. All right. He's recalling a time that was very unpleasant. And then Erica Badu replies, and I guess that well before I get to there, um, he's recalling a time and he's saying they took that picture and in the picture right here, look at it. They look like they're all in love with each other and happy and you know what I'm saying? This is the same day she stabbed him in the ribs. That's crazy. So he's recalling that time that they're all hugged up and everything. And he says that this is the same day that she stabbed me with a butcher knife in the ribs and he had to get 16 stitches. And Erica Badu's reply is ha 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 all the way. And then somebody else replies under Erica Badu, dope. That so somebody replies underneath, and I'll try to. I don't know if I can show it. Nah, you ain't gonna be able to see it. You're just gonna have to look online to find it yourself. But somebody replies to Erica Badu, dope. And then Jay Electronica, he replies to the guy who says dope. He says, "What? Is it dope that I got stabbed only because some white girl sent me a message on iChat?" So that's the reason why he got stabbed. He got stabbed because some girl had sent him a message on iChat. And this made me think, why did Erica Badu think that was funny? Like, what's so funny about you stabbing a guy with a butcher knife? And that really made me think of how demented a lot of people are, and how crazy, like how people think it's okay. Like if the tables were turned, if the tables were turned and it was Jay Electronica that stabbed Erica Badu. If he had stabbed her and she recalled the time, this same picture and said, "Well, that's the time that you stabbed me, or that's the time that you beat me." And he said, "Ha ha 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 ha." How would the world respond to that? How would we all respond to that? We would call him out and we would say, "Hey, man, you think that beating on women or that abusing women is cool? That you know what I'm saying? We would have something to say about that." But the fact that we gloss over that and nobody has said anything to Erica Badu or has has shamed her or anything for that because I really think that there's something toxic in our society that thinks that something like that is okay. Donette Hill says he looked scared. Look again, bro. Men are being abused too, but in silence. Yeah, yeah, and that gets to my next topic. A lot of men are being abused. Um, and that gets to my next topic when we go into Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. And we all somewhat paid attention to the trial. I vaguely paid attention to it. A big I wasn't big. I'm not big on those kind of things. It's not that entertaining to me. Um the first time I saw part of the trial, I immediately knew that that chick was crazy. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I think everybody saw it. I think everybody knew that that girl was crazy from day one. Um, just hearing a lot of the testimonies, and then even Johnny Depp's ex-girlfriends or ex-wives, I think, also spoke on his behalf. Anytime your ex says anything good about you, or even when you've done them wrong, if they can still say something good about you, then that's always a good thing. That's always a good thing, because a lot of people don't do that. Especially if you wrong them. But so going into the Amber Heard situation, so they reached a verdict, and she has to pay $15 million minus the 2 million that she's going to supposed to receive from Johnny Depp. So really, really, she's really has to put out really 13 million dollars. And then of course you take away all the attorney fees and all that. So she's probably going to walk away with at least a good half of that 13. So we'll say what, 6 7 million dollars she's probably going to walk away with. Oh, no, now she's going to walk away with that Johnny Depp is going to walk away with, which isn't really a whole lot. uh I mean, it's a lot when you don't have it. Let me tell you, I could do something with $7 million, or so, you know. But uh, I really didn't understand. I really have a hard time. And going back to what you said, Donette, um, I really don't understand abuse from men a whole lot, just because I've never been in a relationship where a woman even thinks to put her hands on me. I've never been in a relationship where I had to put hands on a woman, or I've never been in that kind of relationship. So I just think that is weird. And I think that is weird that a man would allow a woman to put his hands on him. That's just not even in my psyche. Like, how do I let a woman abuse me? I don't understand it. It happens, but that's something I don't think I'll ever understand that, and I don't want to. I don't want to understand that. Um, but yeah, so that's really all for today. I'm not going to stay long, and just like and subscribe, and share this with your friends. You can make clips or whatever. I don't care. But it's good talking with you guys. I love you, love the support, and I hope to talk to you again. I might do another video today. We'll see. I'm on my way to the gym, so about to go get it in. And that's peace out for the day, and I wish you well. Love you guys.